Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And we're going to compare Cottage Garden, Indian Summer, and Spring Meadow all together and see which is the best one.
First of all, if you haven't seen our thoughts on these three games, we have all of those on YouTube. We'll have links down below. You can watch those first to hear what we think about them individually, or you can watch this one first so you're not spoiled by when we talk about what we think about the comparisons a little bit in those videos. I'm going to leave that up to you.
But also, though, it is important to note that Spring Meadow was the first one that we played.
Yeah.
So in that video, we couldn't really compare the others, but then we played both of these, so we were, yeah. Also, fun fact about Indian Summer, for so long, I kept accidentally calling this game Summer Harvest. Even when I was talking to Stephen Bonacure, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, and he wrote back like, "You mean Indian Summer? What the hell is Summer Harvest?" Summer Harvest is the name of a plot card in a Game of Thrones the card game. There's fun fact there.
I do also want to say that it was always called a trilogy, and even like the artwork on the edge of the boxes has like 1, 2, 3, and then it ends at 3. But like, there are 4 seasons. Where is the winter game?
That's winter. Oh, spring.
No, this is
There's snow in there, though.
You would think this spring, because it's
Yeah,
like
you'd
gardening.
think this would be spring. Right.
They should have like a beach one.
This is summer, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe things grow really well in the summer. Some things do. I don't know.
You plant in the spring and
then you
reap in the summer, so
I thought you reap in the fall. That's why it's harvest.
it depends on what you're growing.
Bananas.
So the main similarity between all three of these, if you don't know, is they all have to do with nature. And they all use these like Tetris-y pieces that you fit together, trying to cover up the most area possible, leaving as little gaps as possible. Except for in this one, you want to leave specific gaps that are already covered. But that's why they're a trilogy.
And also, these two have holes in them that you use to cover up things on your board. And I think that's a really clever mechanic, and it's part of the reason why these two are my favorite.
However, these two both have drafting in them, which is something that was a negative in this one for Tom, only because these two had it. But if drafting is what you're into, these two have drafting where this one doesn't.
I'll just go ahead and say I think Indian Summer is my favorite. It's the one that I enjoy the most. However, I think Spring Meadow is the one I'm going to play the most. Because it's simpler, right? Like I would definitely, if I'm going to play with, I always do the Tom's Mom test. And then the reason why we talk about that a lot, in a lot of our reviews, we say, well, if I'm going to play with new players, it's because we play with new players all the time. I go to cool stuff all the time, and I meet new people.
I just play with Tom's mom all the time.
He just plays with my mom all the time. So that is a pretty big concern for me. So under these specific conditionals is if I'm playing with seasoned gamers, Indian Summer all the time. If I'm playing with new players, Spring Meadow. Cottage Garden, I could take it or leave it.
I'm going to agree. Indian Summer is my favorite because it's the most complex. It feels like the tightest. It was just the most strategy, in my opinion, because you have a confined area, but you want to fill the whole thing up, and it takes the whole game to fill up the one area. And I really think that they kind of like Mama Bear, Papa Bear it. Like, this game was too basic. This game was too complex for most people, and then this game really knocked it out of the park. And I do think...
What? You could have said was just right, and you didn't! What's wrong with you?
I do think that this one is probably the best game because it balances like the thematics of who's going to be drawn to this game, which probably isn't your like super nerdy, hardcore gamer. Like, this is so good. But still, like, general gamers all around. This one is the crunchiest, and this one is... Oh, it's too basic for me. It's still a great game.
It's also fiddly. Like, these two are more basic than this one. But this one's fiddlier. Because of the scoring mechanism, moving these tracks up is a little weird. And the cats versus the pots things. That's just so simple. Fill it up Tetris style. Cover up the holes with the marmots or whatever they're called. And then when you link holes together, you can get rocks.
And I really liked, too, the way this scores, where you only score the last complete row. So if you have to fill everything up. Where in this game, you can, like, leave little gaps. Or both of them, actually. If you leave little small gaps, they have one little pieces that, like, I'm just going to take this to fill it because. In this one, I believe you have to actually get the rocks. Like, you have to earn the rocks to then go back and fill in those holes.
You might be able to get a 1 rock and it's the last, or the rules aren't in there. Okay, I'm just gonna do it.
I think it's the only way to get a rock.
Maybe not. I don't know. Whatever.
So I do think that if you have these two games, this one's definitely worth picking up. And I think that's probably the biggest question in this is if I've played these or if I have these, is this one still worth getting because it's so similar? And I do, because I think it makes the perfect balance between them. Now, if you guys are just like killing Indian Summer and this is your group's favorite game, maybe just stick with this one because that's what you go for. Oh, and if you're like us and you have these two, then it's not really a question. You have to get this one because it's the third in the series, and you can't get the first two games in a series and then be like, I'll just leave that slot open.
Yeah, I would actually recommend your purchasing order be Spring Meadow, then Indian Summer, then Cottage Garden. Just go backwards.
And only Cottage Garden if you're a completionist. It's a perfectly fine game. I'll enjoy every time I play it.
Or if you bought these two and you played them both to death and you want another one.
Something different. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But if you got these two and you're happy with them and you want to just keep playing them and you're not a completionist, I don't think you go back and get that one too because it's also awesome.
You're not missing out per se.
Check it out though. I mean, I wouldn't pass up an opportunity to play any of these.
It's true.
They're all solid games.
Yeah, that is important to note that they're all so good that when we're saying this one isn't as good, we're saying, oh, it's not. You know what I mean? Saying it's not as good as Lord of the Rings is different from saying it's not as good as Transformers 5. You know what I mean? I hope you guys watch movies because I do a lot of movie,
Now, a mini comparison is the 3D construct in the games because Cottage Garden gives you a cool wheelbarrow, Indian Summer gives you a bush, and Spring Meadow gives you a signpost. Tom, what are your thoughts on these?
This is the coolest one.
That's absolutely the coolest one.
Best thing that this game has going for it.
Now, I will say the signpost is easily my second favorite because a bush is boring. Like, there's a cardinal in it, but because I opened this one last because I got this one first and then I got these two at the same time. So like this one, I'm like, oh, signpost, that's cool. And then I opened this one and I was like, oh, it's a really cool wheelbarrow. Is there going to be something in this one? And then I went through like, there's not. Oh, this bush is a 3D thing. Like,
I get that thematically it makes sense, but I would have liked a lot more.
What if it was an oak tree? If it was a 3D oak tree.
If it was a tree, it would have been cooler. I was saying it would be cool if it was like a foldy thing like that, and it was your backpacks.
Ah.
That would be pretty cool.
Or if it was something to put in the wheelbarrow.
That would also be cool. Oh yeah, they don't none of these slot together. I mean that works, but
at the end of the day, I really enjoyed all three of these, but that's kind of how we're gonna rank them. So like
when you
1, 2, 3.
When you did this, I really thought you were gonna hit that. I feel like we've said pretty much everything we need to say about this. Buy it. This is my favorite. Yeah. So purchase links in the description box down below.
If you haven't seen our thoughts on them,
yeah. Also,
I would definitely watch that because we go into a lot more in depth in each of them.
And hey, while you're down there clicking on all those links and stuff, subscribe to our channel so you'll never
be bored.